I've got hate groups about me on Reddit and stuff. I never read hate comments and I don't want to get involved in anything like this. But it's so funny, like people in my life would be like, there's a massive hate group about you on Reddit. I'm like, why are you telling me that? I don't want to know that. I definitely don't want to look at it. And don't tell me what they're saying.
Stephen.
Hi.
Welcome. So I'm going to ask you a generic question, but I want you to answer it as truthfully as possible.
Okay.
How are you?
How am I? Today I'm stressed out because YouTube just deleted a video of mine. And I'm kind of fighting them on it. It's one of the things that's happened since I started talking about, I started sort of calling out things that are like a bit uncomfortable. And so I got a warning 2 weeks ago, and then today they took down a video. But the craziest shit was I deleted the video and they still deleted it and gave me a strike, even though the video was deleted.
Yeah, it's just, I think that if you're speaking the truth, you have to be deleted from YouTube.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think everyone I know who I follow who's speaking about this agenda stuff,
yeah,
they'll get banned from YouTube.
Yeah.
I think if you're telling the truth, you kind of have to get banned in a way.
Yeah.
So you're doing the right thing. That you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
So how's that feel when you get like your work deleted and stuff?
It's kind of, it's really frustrating just because like I put a lot of time into my stuff, and this one particularly was probably like the most involved of. I'm working with a researcher and we know that everything we've said is legit.
What was the video about?
It was how Hollywood, so I started a series last week about how Hollywood is involved and has historically been involved in trafficking. And it was episode 2 of that. So we're going a little deeper, but there was no one specifically called out. And it was just talking about, this one specifically was about the history of darkness in Hollywood. So I went back to like the 30s and how there's always been crazy shit happening in Hollywood. Always been like really debauched kind of insane. Like there was guys in the 30s and 40s that were like, would kill themselves for being on rape charges it's nuts, like even back then. So the whole video was about just the history leading up to now. And I had some footage of Lady Gaga, Sam Smith, and I can't remember who else, a few like bits of footage, but they don't specifically tell you which part has violated.
So they gave you no reason.
They said it was harassment. And then I looked it up, and harassment is targeted to a specific person, and there wasn't anyone. I'm guessing it was one of the people whose clips I showed, but I didn't say anything specifically about that person. I just said, like, take a look at this and take a look at this. But you got to be so careful the way you phrase things.
No, for sure. I think anyone on there who's speaking truth and allowed to be there, they're kind of some deal or something. I think that it's really tough to be telling the truth and speaking out against what you're saying, and not be banned. Yeah. So do you have like an escape plan you're kind of thinking of, or you kind of just taking a step at a time? I'm building Rumble. Rumble's building nicely, and Twitter, since Elon Musk took it over, has been amazing. So those are the 2 best platforms in terms of free speech, but I feel like Rumble's too hot for advertisers. So they're not really advertising there. So the monetization is nowhere near what it is on YouTube. So yeah, it is frustrating. It's funny. I heard Jordan Peterson like a few weeks ago saying, it's really weird. YouTube haven't touched me. And then the minute he said that, like he got like 2 videos taken down the next week. It was really weird. Yeah. So take me back to your little bit earlier years. What got you from, but you were a composer before in that world. What got you from there? You said you're super, part of the matrix in a way, very, liberal thinking. What got you from there to focusing on what you're doing now? What made you kind of throw that all out and be like, I want to go full time into this? That was, a series of events really. So I'm a composer. I came over here to score like big films with basically with Hans Zimmer, but I'd done a lot of films before that. And then when I started working with him, I moved. And so I'm a drug addict, and I relapsed 10 years ago in the middle of working on a film. I kind of relapsed and really fell off the rails. And I ended up in rehab. I was there for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I knew I love Hans and we got on amazingly,
but I didn't really like the culture of being in that studio environment. It was like a bit like a factory, and I was used to having much more creative freedom and much more artistic expression in my movie scores. But then working with him, it was like a factory, and yeah, I didn't really get on with anyone else I worked with. So in rehab, I realized, wait, I'm not that happy doing this. Like, I was happier in London doing films than I am here. So I feel like I might quit. And it was just one of those like life moments. Sometimes you hit like a crossroads, and I think drug addiction forces that on you, forced it on me. So I was kind of medicating my feelings of being uncomfortable in that environment. I was self-medicating that uncomfortableness away. And I was like, you can't be ungrateful for this opportunity. This is amazing. You're getting to work on these huge films. But like inside, I wasn't feeling it. So I was taking drugs to medicate. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I ended up in rehab. My wife was a actress, like in sitcoms and stuff like that. And she was getting really frustrated. So when I came out of rehab, I'm like, I'm going to quit working with Hans. And she was really supportive, but we didn't know what we were going to do financially, because I'd moved from London. My marriage fell apart in London, so I was remarried, starting again, and I was just about to give up this huge job. So I gave it up, and we moved into a bigger house in Hollywood, which was a really weird time. So basically, neither of us had any income, and we've moved into a bigger house. And we're like, what are we going to do? Like, this is crazy. And I was driving down Sunset one day, and I saw all these billboards for YouTubers. This was like 2015. I was like, what is that? That's weird that there's like people, and they had a subscriber count. And I was like, what? These many people subscribe to this? What is this? So I went back and said to her, I think you'd be really good at YouTube, like as you funny, you do characters. She was getting really frustrated with just acting. And we kind of fought about it. I was like, you got to try it. She's like, I'm not doing it. You got to try it. I'm not doing it. So eventually I bought her a camera, and I was like, there's a camera. Try it. So she uploaded one video, and then took it down the next day because no one watched it. And then uploaded another video. No one watched it again. So then she said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a video every day for a year. It was Instagram, because then Instagram started doing video, and see what happens. So fair play to her, she uploaded a video every day for a year. 6 months in, she had a video go completely crazy, where she was playing like a cocaine addicted model, just a vacant model. And she was just like, she had these inspirational quotes, but she was just coked out. And it was really, really funny character, but people thought she was really that good. They didn't realize it was character. So this video went super viral, and everyone's like, look at this coked out. Like, they didn't realize. She was like, damn, like this isn't quite according to plan. Anyway, so then she created another character, which was made of a square face Snapchat filter, where she was like, I'm going to put this filter on. I'm going to chase you around just saying disgusting things. And she did it. And she's like coming after me. And that blew the fuck up. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was so insanely viral. And then we did another one, and that went insanely viral. This character just couldn't miss. Like, everything we did with her was millions, like hundreds of millions of views. And Facebook started making videos. So basically we started making money, making content. It was like, wow, this is, and what I loved about it was like, it was just fell out of the sky. I didn't make it. It wasn't like a plan. It just happened. And it was really good fun. And, so we became like, because she was chasing me around, she was calling my name out, I became like well known online. So it was just a really interesting time. Then we would make music videos and stuff, and it just went, I found myself being an accidental influencer with like a lot of followers and stuff. And it was great for a long time. And something happened around 2020. So being in Hollywood and being like, first of all, with the composing and working on these big films and with the executives and stars of the films, it's all very, very liberal, very left leaning. Yep. And you can't you can't really, I got the sense that you can't step out of that, but I didn't really realize how insane the dogma is to stay in that liberal box until 2020. I was like, something felt weird about the aggressive shutdown in LA and how they were shutting down small businesses, but keeping the big conglomerate businesses open. And the aggressive mask, and something felt just weird about it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And then in Florida, everyone's out partying, and everyone in LA is like, these people are going to get everyone killed. And then it wasn't happening. It just felt a bit manipulative.
Yeah.
And so I started sort of saying, I don't know if this pandemic's as serious as people say it. And it was like, immediately, like, you're an idiot. You have to shut up. And I was like, whoa, this is people that I was friends with. Yeah. It's like, whoa, wait, I can't even like question this. And
that's the beauty of the system. The fact that it's like these matrix agents in a way where they're kind of conditioned to, when you say something opposing the mainstream narrative, it's like this automatic, like,
it's like, crazy.
You're evil.
Yeah.
This is like psychological manipulation that's what they want
those
really,
to do. Yeah.
You know, with anything, with any issue, it's just like, boom. Yeah. A certain trigger word.
Yeah.
It's like, boom.
Yeah.
You're an evil person.
Yeah. And it's aggressive.
Yeah.
It's people that like were friends before suddenly. And then, so I'm this kind of person, like, if you tell me I can't do something, I want to do it. So if they're telling me I can't talk about it, I'm like, I'm going to start talking about this. Cause like, if everyone can't talk about this, I have to start talking about it. And I kind of sat on it for a while, cause I was married and my wife was a big influencer, and I was concerned that if I started talking about it, it would reflect on her, because she didn't feel like that. She's not political at all. But if she had to pick a side, it certainly wouldn't be where I am. It would be more on the liberal side. So I kind of I was like, I'm going to have to start talking about this, but it's tricky because I don't want her to get affected, because that's not fair.
Did it affect your relationship?
No, she's not political at all. So, and I didn't really, it's only since, so we separated a year after that. And then since, we didn't really discuss it that much. And I would consider, I saw myself as apolitical at that time as well, but just questioning the vaccines and questioning the,
like you should,
lockdown. Yeah, exactly. But I still didn't think I'm either side. Yeah. I'm realizing now that I am, because like people have told me what you're doing is political. But so when we separated, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start. I think we did a podcast together actually, and she mentioned in the podcast that I was into Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan.
Oh no!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I got sober with Russell Brand in London. When I first got sober, he was in the area, so I know him. So I was really following his content, and I think he was like what led me to Rogan, and then that led me to. I went down that avenue, and so she talked about that, and the comments were like, half the people were so shocked and like, what a terrible person. I was like, you're seriously saying that because I listened to these people? And then the other part of people were like, thank God, this is amazing. So I was like, right, I'm definitely going to start talking about this because it's really causing a conversation. And now I'm separated, so it's not going to affect Laura. So yeah, I started to, the first video I made was about how, so I'd never taken Twitter seriously. It was just after Elon took it over, and I didn't have any, like 100 followers. I never was on Twitter. It was always Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So I made a post about how it's weird that people in Hollywood are so anti-gun, where the stuff they produce is basically gun porn. Yeah. Like it's like I saw the Joker, and I thought, the people that made this are anti-gun, and look at the film. So it's like a real hypocrisy there. So I just made a video talking about it. It blew up on Twitter, and I started getting tens of thousands of followers on Twitter. And then I realized, wait, that's a place where it's possible to say stuff on Twitter and not get censored. I didn't really know about YouTube then. And that sort of spurred me on to keep talking and go deeper into the fact that people were resonating with it gave me strength to keep doing it. And people have been amazing. Like when I was on the left side, the one thing that you always told is that people on the right are terrible. People that are into guns are terrible. They're awful people, like hateful, that they're, just hateful, horrible, bigoted people. And I have to say, since I've been posting about this, a lot of right-leaning people have come my way, or even like center people who are now considered right because of the way the left has gone. They've been so amazing. And like the worst hate I've ever got in my life, like breathtaking hate, has come from where I used to be on the left. It's insane. Yeah. So it's the opposite.
For sure. But what in you is so passionate about speaking truth to the degree that you will tolerate hate, that you will tolerate losing friends, having sticky situations, losing monetization? Like, what in you is so passionate about speaking the truth that makes you want to deal with all that?
Well, with the gender stuff that I'm really talking about now is pretty clear. And this was also a part of my whole waking up, is I have a son. And when I think when you have kids, you start looking at the world and you're more, he was diagnosed autistic, severely autistic. And luckily he's heading in the right direction now. So severe is where you're not verbal and you may never be independent. And when he got that diagnosis, I was really shocked. And then I started to see that the transitioning of kids and the puberty blockers, I started to see study after study that it's overwhelmingly autistic kids they do that to. And that just lit a fire in me that I have to speak up against this, because I feel like it's those kids that are already confused and they don't fit in socially. If you start telling them maybe you're a different gender, they're going to gravitate towards it.
What frustrates me is that the fact that like that is so important and so true, and we objectively, without any bias, we should be focusing on that. But then people will take that as you basically being evil against trans people. That you believe in that as now you're a bigot against this whole group. But it's like, how could that be true when we're just against, preying on kids who are vulnerable to make permanent decisions that they shouldn't make?
Totally.
That to me doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
And I look at your stuff and the amount of hate that you're getting to me. Just, you're not even saying anything crazy. You're just saying things that should help kids. The fact that that's getting so much anger to me means it's significant. It's like, okay, this is what's happening.
There's something going on. I mean, and I don't ever go after specific people. It's the agenda. I feel like the individual trans people have been as hijacked as the rest of us. I don't think they realize that the big pharma make $2 million out of every transition kid because they're parked into medication for life. So for them, it's great that this whole thing is happening because it makes huge money for big pharma. And I feel like the whole establishment, because it's also linked, the government with big pharma, and then just the way that everyone's in each other's pockets, it's working out great for the powerful that this gender stuff is happening. So I feel like sometimes when I get hate from individual people, I see them as more misguided and manipulated by the agenda. Like they see me as a hate figure because of what they've been told. Whereas I feel like I don't have any trouble with individual people, but when you see a lot of hate sort of targeted, like I've got hate groups about me on Reddit and stuff. And I never read hate comments and I don't want to get involved in anything like this, but it's so funny. Like people in my life would be like, there's a massive hate group about you on Reddit. I'm like, why are you telling me that? I don't want to know that. I definitely don't want to look at it, and don't tell me what they're saying. And then I'll get a call. You know what they're saying on Reddit about you? It's like, so you're right. The fact that there's such a pushback means you're hitting something important. I feel like that too.
It's weird. I just it confuses me, man. Even with this, the reaction to the movie The Sound of Freedom. The fact that you have the mainstream media labeling it as a right-wing QAnon piece. It's like, why would you assassinate a movie that's trying to bring awareness to sex trafficking? Like, why? How do you explain that?
There's no explanation.
It's just like, how are people not recognizing it? It's like,
unless you're in favor of it, there's no way to. There's no defense for.
It doesn't make any sense to me. No. So it's good on you for speaking truth to it.
And to say that it's QAnon, I mean, I saw it 2 days ago. I didn't see it before. there's nothing QAnon about that. There's nothing about it politically. But.
Yeah. I mean, it might be like to try and be not as conspiratorial as I'd like to be sometimes, is that maybe just like because they know it's right-wing associated, they're trying to assassinate it to make it. But it's strange, man.
But I wonder what about it is right-wing?
It's made by right-wing people.
Right,
like,
okay.
It's like Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel, all these people. Jim Caviezel has his own, I like him, but he says his own things.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird thing. But I want to talk a little about your relationship. How you doing with that? And how you feeling about it? Because it's pretty recent for you.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, we're getting on really well. You know, we've hit a couple of bumps in the road, but generally it's been really good in terms of like, because we co-parent and I live a mile away. Mm-hmm. So we're still very much in each other's lives. And it's funny because Laura is like I say, apolitical, and she's like a purist just about comedy. So that's what she's interested in, comedy and the kids. But our friends, like, will say to her, I can't believe, like, how could you let him talk like this? Literally, I think someone said, like, you need to stop him talking. And it was like, it blew my mind that I was like, and she even said, this is great. Like, people's reaction to what you're saying is so crazy that they think that I need to stop you saying what you feel.
So it's still not affecting your guys' relationship.
No, it is great. I mean, we don't. The only thing we've agreed on is we're not going to put political views on the kids, which obviously that's their decision.
Of course.
Yeah.
What caused the separation in the first place?
I think so as I say, we had this like crazy like viral video making machine that just was like, it became like, it was only two of us and it became hard to manage it. I mean, looking after this thing, making this content, doing all the back end stuff became like a full-time job. And it was only, like I say, it was two of us doing it. And I think I definitely slipped more into like the business side of the relationship. And the marriage became more of a business thing for the last couple of years, really, which is a shame, but it's just one of those things that naturally happened. And I feel like we weren't connected as a couple so much. It was more like a content creating team. And it was, it's once you've gone past that, it's hard to get back.
In what way? Like, you lose love for her? Like, what exactly shifted in the dynamic?
It was just very subtle. It was like, we became business partners rather than like a married couple. I can't pinpoint one thing. It was just over years. And the funny thing is, the same thing happened with my wife, my ex before Laura, same thing. We were in a band together, and that became more about the band. So it's a problem I have. It's definitely something that I need to address and look at in myself. It's not the other person, like in either of those situations.
What caused you to not want to work through that, to just call it quits?
We tried. Yeah, we tried a lot. And, I mean, there was a lot behind the scenes that we didn't talk about, a lot of trying to put it back together. I mean, we're such good friends now, and it feels really weird because you think that when you separate, it's going to be just bad. But the crazy thing is my connection with our kids is just way better. And I think that's due to before, like, you get so distracted, you're in work, you're on your phone, you got kids. But when being separated, I like now when I'm with the kids, I'm like, okay, this is kid time, no phone, no discussion about, no thinking about anything else. And I'm so present with them. It's like such quality time that I sort of took for granted before. So that's been a huge plus. And I feel like because of that, Alfie has gone from being, my son's gone from being like severely as they diagnosed him. He's now got, so it's weird. They don't, apparently you're not supposed to say this, but this is the diagnosis. It goes from 1 to 3. 1 is like Asperger's, being socially awkward, not needing that much support. 2 is needing a moderate amount of support and struggling significantly. 3 is like really needing a ton of support and maybe not be able to live independently, which is what he was diagnosed as, which was terrifying. And He's now 2. So because it can move in the first 5 years, and you never know. So thank God he's going in the right direction. So he's getting more verbal. But I think a big part of that is me being totally present with him and not being like distracted.
Yeah, that's what's tricky about this medical world. Is put these boxes, like this infinite boxes. Like, this kid is a 3 forever, and then you kind of like treat him like a 3. And it manifests itself. So good on you for not kind of believing that fully and trying to push it a little bit.
I never instinctively didn't believe it, and the way they diagnose these kids is, I mean, this woman was terrible. She like hardly looked at him. Like, she was for half an hour with him. And she's like, well, he's non-verbal. And he was literally asking for things.
How old was he?
2. So we got, it's crazy. It's
How can you say that about 2-year-olds?
Yeah, it's nuts. She's like, he's non-verbal. He's not interested in what I'm saying. It's like, it's because you're boring as fuck. That's why he's not interested in. So yeah, she wasn't good. And I think she just put him down as that. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't believe it in my heart. And thankfully it's turned out to be the case that he's, it's interesting because I love the fact that everything he does, he comes at from a different angle from an average kid. It's amazing. I love it. Like, you take him to the playground and he'll go on every single thing in a different way to the kids. And I was like that. As I was, funnily enough, like 2 years after he was diagnosed, I would call my mum before he got his diagnosis, before we even knew there was anything different about him. So there was one instance when my mum bought him a car, like a toy car. And she said to me, watch that he doesn't play with it on the ground like that. I wonder if he'll like pick it up and rub it on his chest and move the wheels. I was like, that's weird. Why are you saying that? She goes, well, that's what you did. And then there were other things. So there's that. And then I didn't have eye contact. I didn't talk for a long time. I found out all this stuff. Turns out all these things are autism signs. Mm-hmm. So I know this amazing guy online. He's incredible, Dr. Amen. He's big on, yeah. So he's my psychiatrist. We did a video like 2 or 3 years ago, and we've stayed friends. And I called him up and I was like, can you check me for autism? Because this is, now Alfie's been diagnosed. It can be genetic, and I've got all these things. So we did an intensive like diagnosis over hours of like going through all the checklists, and turns out I'm level 2 myself. So yeah, it was like, wow.
What was it like in a diagnosis?
Amazing. Because I was like, not only does a lot of stuff make sense from my life, but I can connect with my son more, because I totally get, like, when he has a meltdown, I know what he's going through, because I can take myself back to being his age. Like, autistic kids need routine. And if you break that routine, they can really lose it. And I was struggling with him a little bit, like, why are you getting so upset? But now, like, my mum was telling me about, like, there were certain things, like if we went a different way into town, like not the way that I knew of and expected, I would lose my mind. So now I'm able to access that and go, okay, I remember how traumatic it was. And now I understand why he's doing that.
Yeah. Is the way that you go about relationships and love different to the average person? Yeah. How's that different?
I mean, we struggle with, even down to things like eye contact. Like, I had to learn eye contact. Like, I didn't want to do it. And I struggled with social all my life. So I didn't want to have friends. I never wanted to play with other kids. I didn't want to go to school. I just didn't go to school for years. So all social relationships are a struggle for anyone on the spectrum. So I totally get that. So that leads into romantic relationships as well. It can be, I think you tend to have less of a filter, which may also be another reason that I talk like I do online. There's not that extra level of like, is this a good idea? It just comes out. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
how's that negatively affect a relationship? Like when she says, like, do I look good in this dress? You're like, no, honey.
Right. Like, I mean, I'm sure some people on the spectrum are like that. It's so funny, like the things you have to do. I probably would have been like that, except I literally got books out of the library, like on how to deal in social situations, because I found it so difficult at school. I was like, how are people interacting? How does he know what to say to him? It was literally as weird as that to me, that people would talk. So it's like, I've got to work out how. So I would literally
done a good job, man. Like, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot's gone on behind the scenes of like just I made it because another thing you have as an autistic person is like you get obsessed with certain things. Like for me, it was music.
Yeah,
like I didn't finish school. I got terrible grades. I don't know how to read or write music, and I left at 15. Because I started music at 13, and by 15 I had a record deal, and I can't, like I say, read or write music. And I'm the only person that I know of that scores films that can't read or write music.
That's insane.
It's just from autism. It's just a special interest. I zoned in on that so crazy. I didn't do anything for 2 years except music. I wouldn't do anything else. I was obsessed.
So when you were just playing different sounds and like figuring it out in that way?
Yeah, I did it by ear. And then it was so weird because I was making music for clubs, and so I couldn't go to the clubs. I was too young, but club music was happening. I just connected with it. So I was making this music and it was getting played in clubs. And then it just so happened that the guys that were going out clubbing at that time would go on to be commercial directors and things like that. So people were liking the music I was making. It wasn't selling, but the people that were liking it were all people involved in visual art or whatever. So it so happened that when they would get commercials and short films, they would want to use my music in the film. And people would be like, your music's really cinematic. I was like, is it? I don't even know what that means. I don't understand what that means, but turns out it works really well with picture. And so that's how I fell into doing movies. One of the guys that used my music in his commercial was the son of Ridley Scott, who did Alien and Blade Runner, yeah. And so he got his first film and he was like, do you just want to do the music for my film? And I'd never done it before. And I just said, yeah. And it was a crazy film. No one saw it. It was called Plunkett and McLean, and it was set like in the 1200s, but all the music was like super modern. And it kind of was a really interesting idea, but it didn't really work in the end of the day. So the reviews came out for the film. No one liked the film, but everyone talked about the music, or every single review was like, this music is amazing. So then I got to do a James Bond, first Bond film I worked on, because the guy that was doing the music for that film had seen all these reviews for this film that no one saw talking about the music. And he was like, do you want to come and work on this? And it was just like a snowball of that to, tons of other films like Ocean's 11 and Transformers and Fast and Furious and all this stuff. It all just was a happy accident. But
what was being in that world like? And specifically, like, what about being in that world showed you some of the dark stuff that you're focusing on now? Like, what did it show you some of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I would meet people who, it's funny, I would meet people sort of I would meet like very high powered executives, and I noticed that there was a certain thing. The first person I met from Hollywood, I was working in Scotland on a film for Fox. And this guy came over and he was like really, really high up in Fox. And when he came over, I'd never seen anyone like him before. He had this weird, it's hard for me to explain. He was like, he had this thing that he'd seen everything that was possible to see. And he was like, had this dead-eyedness, and it was freaked me out.
Ominous.
Yeah. And the sort of almost like the temperature of the room changed when he came in. I was like, what the fuck is this? What? He's like, what? And it was disconcerting to me, and I didn't like it. And then when I started to work more in Hollywood, I saw that a lot more. And it tended to be people that were really high up, like in the business. They would have this like 1,000-yard stare of just being like, they've sinned too much. And it was really weird to me. And then I started to hear stories about people around the edges of those people, like chauffeurs and drivers and people like that, being like, there's crazy shit going on. Like they would sort of say behind the scenes, like, I've seen some stuff. They're like unspecific, but yeah, there was just a weird coldness to, it was almost like the higher up you got, the colder and weirder it became. So, I mean, I'm going to delve into that more as I go on in this series, so we don't take every episode down. But definitely on Rumble, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. And I want to go sort of chronologically, and that's why I started with the history of Hollywood, and then it goes into my experience, and it's going to go on from there.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think they're so dark? Is it just due to do you think it's something spiritual, or it's due to the horrors they've seen, or like the amount of blackmail they've done? Like, what do you think makes them that way? I'm going to give you a break to digest all this amazing information. And in this break, please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.
I think it's a combination. I mean, the Hollywood was built on an Indian burial ground. The actual town where the original town of Hollywoodland was kind of had some weird history in terms of that. So that could be a spiritual part of it. And I feel like especially in the early days, there was so much money, and there's all these desperate people that wanted to be in films, and they were easy to manipulate. So you had this powder keg of like a lot of money, a lot of power, and like lots of young kids that were easily abusable. And I think that just compounded. I think this probably was a darkness from the early days, and then it just compounded and became more.
Well, it's the easiest way to infiltrate the average mind, right?
Yeah.
Like subtle messages in movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's the easiest way to get to someone, because you're not being told. It's not like you're watching CNN. It's like you're not obviously being brainwashed. It's like the messages or the subtle things in the movies make you believe certain things.
Yeah.
So it's a very effective way to mind control people, for sure.
It really is, yeah. And I would notice, like, in some of the films that I would work on, especially the more recent ones, I would see characters being put into films in their role, because in the editing process, you see like certain characters get amplified, and I was seeing like diversity characters being pushed so far that they would get rid of really amazing, entertaining scenes to make more of something that you just know audiences are not going to be as into. And it was to push that agenda. It was very obvious. We need to make more of this person because they're diverse. They've come from a diverse background, or they're trans, or we need to, this person's character needs to be pushed at all costs, even getting rid of this crazy scene that everyone loves. Like,
that's what frustrates me about the left is I'm all for most of that stuff, actually diversity, all that kind of stuff. But what gets to me is the fact that even if they say they're about diversity and for helping people and being compassionate, they're just doing it to gain power, to fuck them all over. So it's like this Trojan horse of like, we're pro-abortion, we're pro all these things, and they're using that to get votes and get power to then fuck you all over at the same time. So it's like,
a Trojan
that's
horse.
When I was just like, I'm not on either side, but that was when I was like, when I figured out that system.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, Obama had this tells you everything. Obama had, many chances to codify Roe v. Wade and to do all that stuff, but he didn't. Why didn't he do that?
Right.
It's like because they need to say, hey, if you vote for me, I'll do this for you.
Yeah.
And they dangle this carrot. Like, vote for me so I can do these social issues.
Totally.
And make them worse and worse and worse so he gaining power.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, fuck these people, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're pushing the shit from the heart, I'd be all for it. But the fact that I can tell that you're doing it to gain power, to then hurt people and then to gain power, then it's like, dude, like fuck off.
There's something sick about using people's compassion against them as well, which is what I feel they do. They're like,
that's the script.
The love and tolerance is a great quality, but it's being weaponized by
especially with the issue you talk about, right? Like it's now tolerant to want to get a kid to get mutilated.
Right.
It's just like,
exactly.
How?
Exactly.
How? Like, I'm all for it. I think there's a problem where we're hating that group too much in my eyes, but it's also at the same time, it's like, how is it tolerant to allow a kid to get their dick chopped off? Like,
that's exactly right.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that is tolerate. Being tolerant is apparently the way that Nazis pushed eugenics, which is when they started to medically experiment on, which is basically what we're doing now. Was through compassion. It was literally, they would say to the public, well, it's compassionate to kill these people, really, because look, the quality of life they have. It's very similar. That's what they use, compassion. And
that's like a script, is that when you have an in-group, out-group, you basically brainwash the in-group to tolerate the human rights being taken away from the out-group.
Yeah.
That's the script.
Yeah.
When it's us versus them, like for example, during the vaccine mandates, when you had the people who wanted vaccines being like, it's totally fine to force this on people. And it's like, then because they're the out-group, you hate them, it's like, oh, their human rights are no issues. You can take them away from them because it's them, not us. It's like a script. It's just I see it so easily.
There's a video I posted it actually, but it was made by someone else where they edited together all of the really violently anti-vax mainstream media posts, like Jimmy Kimmel said,
that's so fucking dumb.
I can't believe that he did that. I can't believe it.
It was on, ABC. People were laughing, like, just let anti-vax people die. Like, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Yeah. And there's still no, I'd be fine if there was remorse. If there was like, we fucked up. Yeah. This was inhumane in many ways, but there was no remorse. There was no apologies, nothing. And Democrat governors, most people, like the governor of New York, when they asked her when there was a governor race, they asked her something like, "Can you, take back some of the things you said?" She said, "No. Like everything I said was right. I'm not doubling down. Like, wow. I stand by everything I said about COVID, all the vaccine stuff." And it's like they're still not saying this stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like people are less interested in getting every booster that comes out. Less people are into it. Like, this serious stuff.
It's insane, man. So I want to go a little back to your journey. So when did you, so you got super into music? When did you realize, okay, I have to learn how to be able to communicate with people properly and to succeed in this world? When was that moment for you?
That was early on. That was when I was a teenager. Like when I was at school, my dad sold furniture, and he got me a job working building furniture which I was terrible at, in the store. And he was like, "You should maybe come out and start." I couldn't do the job in the back, so he was like, "Why don't you come out and try and talk to customers and stuff?" And I was like 15, 16. And I liked the idea of talking to people. I wanted to be able to do it, but I couldn't do it. So that's when I got into all the books about how to have a conversation. It was that bad.
Is there ever a split in you, like a part of you that wants to kind of retreat and not talk and not look, and a part that's putting on this persona to fit into society?
Big time, yeah.
Is that painful?
They call it masking. Yeah, and
that's what caused my addiction mostly.
Really?
Is this this persona I used to be? I think I was this tough, macho, very strong man. Nothing against that, but I wasn't. I'm a sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm a very sensitive person.
Sure.
And I hated that part of me.
Yeah.
So to mask that, I put on this persona, and that made me take drugs to avoid it.
Yeah.
So how did that affect you, having that kind of split?
It's exhausting. Yeah. It's exhausting. That mask is exhausting. If I still struggle. If I go to I'm terrible in social, party or something. If I go to something like that, when I come home, I'm physically exhausted from literally, because I don't want to be there. And it's always a people pleasing thing for me. And it's pretending to want to be engaged. It sounds terrible, but it's not, it's not my nature.
I'm the same way. I mean, I'm not autistic, but in the same way of I have that split.
Yeah.
So if you were to fully honor it and not put on this person to please people, what would it look like? What would what would it look like for you to go to a dinner party or engage in people? What would it look like without any filter?
Funnily enough, I feel like I'm living like that now in the last year. Yeah, I mean, creating stuff online is perfect for someone on the spectrum, because you can, people disagree with me on this a lot, but I feel like I am having a connection with people, but I don't have to physically be around people, which I do still find really tricky. So big group, so I'm not people pleasing. One of the things so when I relapsed, I got in AA, we have a sponsor who sort of takes you through the steps, and I've been working with him, and he's really hardcore, my sponsor. And he pointed out that one of my biggest things that I need to either stop doing or try and reduce, which has been a big problem I realize now, is people pleasing, doing something because someone else wants you to do it, and it's against your nature. So I've been working on that in the last year. And I feel like it's interesting because my natural default state would be to never go out and just make online content. But I've realized that having just been doing that for a year, it is now I'm realizing that's not actually how I want to live completely. I do want to get out and socialize a little bit. And so funnily enough, I've met some people. So when I first sort of started speaking out about this stuff, I'd lost all my friends pretty much. And I was so I didn't really have anywhere to go. So that was another reason I was at home making videos. But I've met people now that are from the different side. So I'm starting to get new relationships and meet new people, and I want to hang out with those people.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's good to realize it's not,
that's the beauty of being honest with yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like when you, now I feel like I'm fine. I used to not be happy for my whole life, like seriously depressed, addicted, and now I can truly say I'm happy just because of that concept. Like through me fully being me and no mask. Like I have no mask, genuinely.
Yeah.
I ended up attracting people who could see me for me, who could
true.
accept me for me and love me for me.
Yeah.
And that makes you want to be around them. Because if you start a relationship or dynamic with like the mask on,
you're right.
You have to always put it on. Whenever you see that person, it's like the same mask on, right? But when you go in naked, you're like, I can just be me.
That's so true.
I can show up in a not great mood or something, and this person will still talk to me and love me.
Yeah. That's really liberating. It's really interesting, because I feel like I was doing the mask thing until, because like even before, people wouldn't have ever realized that I was sort of the way I felt about political issues, because I would have been too scared to say it because of being cancelled.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
And now it's happened. It's not nowhere near as bad as people make it out. This whole cancellation thing is actually, the fear of it is way worse than it actually happening.
So in person, so people can understand, right? Let's say for people who are scared of, you have like maybe 200 followers, and they're scared of saying like, I didn't get vaccinated, or I voted for Trump. Like, you being in the fire, like literally almost worse than almost anyone. Yeah. And you're saying it's not bad. Yeah. Why are you saying it's not bad? What's it actually like being in the fire, and why is it not that bad?
Right. It's really interesting what happens. I don't know if this is the same with everyone, but I have a feeling that it is. So what happens when it first starts happening? So especially if you say, for example, you've got like the 200 followers and you've never spoken up, and then you eventually start talking, the 200 followers you have will be, they'll be shocked to begin with, and then it'll be polarizing. You're basically going to be cutting everyone in half, cutting your audience in half. So my audience is significant. So that was thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that I was kind of alienating by sticking my flag in the sand in a certain way. Even talking about gun, the first video that went viral on Twitter was about guns. So that immediately polarizes people. So what happened was that people left, people would leave terrible comments and leave, like in tens and hundreds of thousands of people would leave. And it was just everything was just crashing. And I was like, okay, this is what it's like to be cancelled. This is going to carry on, and then I'm going to be done. But what they don't tell you about, and what everyone's like, you're going to be cancelled. And people would say to me, you're going to lose all your followers, you're going to lose all your engagement, you're going to lose all your platforms, and it's good because you don't deserve it. And I was like, okay, right, it's too important. I've got my kids to think about. I'm going to talk about it, and fuck the consequences. So at least I'd be authentic. It's the same thing about having authenticity. I feel like it needs to be talked about, and I don't care what happens. So people were leaving, and I was like, okay, this is the consequence. This is it. But what I didn't expect was like 2 or 3 weeks later, for every person that was leaving, another 2 would come who were incredibly supportive and would leave these amazing comments and just message and be amazing. And so there comes a point where the people that are going to unfollow, it stops, and you will attract people that are in line with you. And I found it's more. I've grown so much in the last month from having like a big drop to I'm definitely like way up on every platform. So it's been the threat of cancellation will never tell you about the people that will actually come and join
and you also must feel better internally, because 100%. You have, I think when we live in this current, especially people in your industry, when we know that we don't agree with this stuff, when we know we don't agree with the kid agenda stuff, we know we don't agree with the way COVID happened, but we hide it. Yeah. We live in shame. We can't talk about it. Yeah. To some degree, you're oppressing your own conscious freedom or your own truth, and that eats alive at you. So I'm assuming, what's also the effect of that, of you being like, I have no shame. I'm just speaking to exactly what I think is true. That must have an effect on you too personally.
It does. It gives you because the whole thing about depression is like pushing your feelings down, isn't it? Depression. Yeah. You're just pushing feelings down. I feel like I spent so many years doing that. Like, I can't say this. I can't do that. That's going to upset someone. This is going to, all these like second guessing everything. Spent so many years doing that. Of course I had depression because I was pushing everything down. And then the feeling of just letting that go was so liberating. and you do feel a sense of honoring yourself. Like I feel like I look at myself in the mirror a different way. Like I have more respect for myself as a man now for having talked about stuff that I felt was important.
Because you're saying, you know, fuck you to the idea of not being liked.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's something masculine about that. Of speaking your truth and not caring about the people liking you or not.
Totally.
It's like when you see a man who has that, you feel like this oomph, this power of like, that dude doesn't give a fuck. And there's some like strength in that.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and the fortunate, I mean, now when we could talk about this topic now is just the current emasculization of men. You know, men are being basically instructed to shut up, you know, and just say the mainstream thing and not ever talk about it. It's like, and I see, it sounds insane. I hate to sound judgmental in that way, but like when a guy fully identifies as a liberal and they're just like really into that, I just like, do you have no balls, bro? It's like, I hate saying that. It sounds judgmental, but it's like, I know you don't agree with this shit. It's that fact. Like if you really agree with it, then fine, but I know you don't, but you put on a persona that you do. It's like, dude, you're scared, you know?
This whole toxic masculinity thing is so incredibly destructive to our society.
100%.
Yeah, the masculine energy built the civilization, and like to demonize that is literally insane.
What's awesome, I mean, we have our suicide rate's insane. And there's like studies and statistics showing that like if you shame masculinity, it's like even worse. Also, I learned the hard way. Like we as men, through so much evolution, we have innate aggression, we have innate sexuality, innate things that if we don't own and accept and work through, we cause damage. That if we don't learn stoicism, emotional control, and how to handle those things, we cause damage. So you almost have to make men okay with their masculinity, teach them how to handle, teach them how to channel their aggression, channel this stuff. When we shame it, like, man, you shouldn't be sexual, you shouldn't be aggressive, you shouldn't do all these things, we shame it. And in that shame, we like, it leaks, and we end up beating our wives, or end up doing shit like that. So
it's so interesting. I made a TikTok video saying, my son has got, he likes to wrestle, he likes to roughhouse, and I made a TikTok video saying that I believe that masculinity and masculine energy is rough, and it can be aggressive. And the point about teaching a boy to be a man is teaching him not to use it. To sit on it and know how to handle that. I got permanently banned from TikTok for that video.
What the fuck? Did you get like negative comments from that video?
Oh my God.
What were they saying?
Just like there's toxic masculinity. That's toxic.
It would be toxic if you were teaching him to not control.
Exactly.
Like just be violent, like fuck it. But the fact that he's showing him, hey, you're gonna have these feelings, like you have to channel it somewhere, if you wrestle with me and do martial arts. That's like that's what saved civilization. Like if we had school shooters who were shooting up schools doing that, they wouldn't be shooting up schools.
It's so true. But the fact that it's just showed me how TikTok especially is so woke that they found that video so offensive that they permanently banned. And it's just, all I was saying is masculinity shouldn't be demonized. It's mad.
No, that's the one topic that will get me shit. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like why? It's so confusing. Why do you think it is? Why do you think that there's this massive? I have my own reasons. Why do you think it's this agenda to like demonize and erase masculinity?
I think it's about control. Less masculine men are way more compliant. And if you look at historically the military age of men, it's at the most testosterone, most masculine side, where guys they fight for what they believe in. And I feel like there's a push to get rid of that element of pushback. If you have a population of men being unfit, medicated, eating bad food, depressed, much easier to control the society because you don't have the fighting element that would traditionally be revolutionary because you're taking all that.
I agree. You see the stuff now that they're trying to make working out right wing.
I couldn't believe that.
See, on like I forgot what website, but like big mainstream.
Yeah, it was MSNBC.
Saying like a new right wing move of lifting weights. Like what?
That was one of the craziest things I've seen in a long time.
Why you can kind of see the agenda for sure.
Yeah, the only reason for that would be to try and to make it to push that. The only reason you could be doing that is because you want masculinity taken out of society. That's the only way. Because to call someone right wing is like the biggest slur they have. It's crazy.
So you're feeling more masculine now than you were before.
Totally.
Just from honoring yourself. And growing some balls and speaking some truth. What's the effect on that? Like, do you feel like less depressed? Do you feel? I think that's the thing for men. I realized too that I had this hormone specialist telling me it's changed my life that for men we kind of have to seek discomfort for testosterone.
Wow.
That to increase our testosterone, women actually used to release estrogen. They have to like relax and be surrendered. But when we actually do hard things and challenge ourselves, we get more. We actually gain masculinity.
Wow.
That's why every morning I'm in an ice bath, I'm working out. Just because I notice the days I'm lazy, I don't do anything, or I don't take risks. So you're taking risks. You're in a scary thing.
Yeah.
When we don't do that as men, we basically feminize ourselves. So we have to constantly be doing hard things, and you feel it, right? Like you go to the gym or say something hard, or you feel like it sucks in the moment, but afterwards you feel, oh, I feel like
totally.
Good, you know?
Yeah, no, it really does. Like even down to like I've had a 180 in the last year. I was vegan for 15 years.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I started eating meat. I'm going to say 3 weeks ago.
Now you're a Republican if you eat meat now too. So.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's I did it. I ate meat for the first time. I got this group of guys. So when I separated, I kind of had a bit of a nervous breakdown, and I was like,
understandably,
I felt like totally like rootless. I didn't know where. I felt like I didn't have any masculinity, and I was struggling. And I got together with a group of guys who connected to my AA meeting. There's like a group of, like, as guys, we don't talk to other guys about problems. And this whole group's been going for like 40 or 50 years. I had no idea about it.
The men's group?
Yeah. And it was amazing. Stuff, right. Yeah. It was incredible. And we would get together and they'd have like barbecue and stuff like that. And I was always like, I'm vegan and I don't want to, and I felt like it just didn't feel right. Something about it. As I started to speak up about what I believed in, I started to hang out with these guys. I started to get more of a sense of my masculinity. At some point it was like, I don't feel like vegan. And that the day that I did it for the first time in 15 years, I had steak or whatever. And all the guys were like, don't go too crazy because like you might be ill because you haven't had it. I couldn't stop. It was like, this is amazing. I was just eating as much as I could. I didn't have any bad side effects and I felt high from it. I was like, so much.
Yeah, my diet, I'm a carnivore basically. I basically only eat meat.
Right.
Yeah, it's really changed my life.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird because the agenda right now is to not do that, right? Like I have my family all love to them, but they're very like super left base, which is it's made me grow because it makes me like be like, how can I love you? Understand and be with you with that division. And that for me has been very healing in some way. But they always like, because I only eat basically meat and fruit. That's kind of my diet.
Right.
And whenever I'm with them eating steak, so you're gonna have cholesterol in the diet. It's like they want you to believe that. Like there's this agenda now to like make us think that meat's gonna kill us. We should be eating vegetables all the time. It's like
I've heard this from a lot of people that have said that this whole cholesterol red meat thing is not.
It's not true.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have to get someone who knows way more than me, but from what I understand, it's dependent on like way more things. Like the quality of fats we eat, like the oils we eat. There's a lot of shitty oils we have in our food. Our metabolic health. Like they say that cholesterol issues, people who die from heart attacks are all like massively obese, and they tie it to like meat.
Wow.
So it's this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear that you're now on the right side. But you know what it felt like? How do you feel different now than when you did when you were vegan?
I just feel more alert, more switched on.
More alive.
More alive, yeah. I just feel more like there's more of an urgency to stuff, which I really like. Yes, more alive, yeah, I'd say.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so with your addiction now, do you ever have any cravings anymore? Or you're good now?
No, I do.
Do you feel like now that you're living your truth and you feel inspired, like kind of just gone?
I mean, I don't remember what it's like to. I haven't had a drink for so long, and the having that relapse almost 9 years ago now on doctor prescribed medication. I definitely don't have any. I mean, as an addict, I never say never, and I always know that it's always on your shoulder, so I've got to be aware of it. But I don't have any urge, and just for today, as we always say in AA, I know I'm not going to drink or use, and then those days are going to carry on. I feel like.
What's been the thing that's helped you the most in that journey?
12-step program. Yeah,
you're pretty strict about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's when I don't do it. It's not that I want to drink and use, but when I don't do it, I'm a less good person, and my life tends to go downhill. Like the addict thinking of like catastrophizing, depression, anxiety. I feel like for me, 12-step solves all that, and I just have to stay connected. I mean, I've been in 12-step groups for nearly 20 years, and I still go 5 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it really helps you. What about it you think helped you so much?
It's the it's a combination. It's the group aspect of like hanging. I only go to men's meetings because I find mixed meetings are a bit distracting. It's like, but men's meetings are more like you can just talk about what's going on. There's no, you're not trying to impress anyone. It's a little more honest. And so there's the group men aspect of having a group of guys to connect with, but also the 12 steps are incredible. Like they were, I think Time magazine said the 12 steps are the most significant thing that was written in the whole 20th century. There's some magic to it. I mean, it's the way that it's laid out and the program that you do. I've done the steps 3 times. I'm doing them again now for the 4th time. And it's just an incredible program. And it's a designed to change it's not about drinking and using for me now. It's about being a different person, like having values, having principles, and this program gives me.
What's the spiritual component to 12 steps? There's a spiritual component.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, you get to define your own higher power. So it's based on, it's not religious, but it's based on, the crux of it is that you have to trust in something that's not yourself, which forces you to have spirituality.
Yeah, that's why, like I'm not Christian or Catholic, but so I choose to believe in a God. Just because I know that if we don't, we value, our highest value becomes God. Like the thing like money, influence, fame, sex, like unless we have something outside of us, that becomes our God.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I believe in God too, and it's I find it. I love that, having that conscious contact.
Yeah, but that's also part of the agenda too, that they want us to not believe in something outside of us, just because like. For one, like it's one reason I think that the government becomes God, that like they want the authority to be them, that like the trust should be them. That if you don't have a God, their authority and their judgment should become God.
Yeah.
That's one thing too, but also that they need us in fear instead of fear to control us. Like, when we're actually in fear, our prefrontal cortex stops working. So we download information. If we're watching TV and we're scared, we stop thinking, we download information, we don't question it. So if we're not, faith destroys fear. You can't have faith and fear at the same time. They can't exist in the same frequency. It doesn't exist. So when we're in faith, the fear goes away, that can't control us. That's why there's this agenda to not make us.
That's interesting about when you're more scared, you take in information.
Yeah, you're whenever think about it, when you're having a panic attack, can you think straight?
You can't.
It's just like there's nothing. Like when I'm anxious, or for example, if I'm having an argument with someone, the minute I counter anxiety, I separate myself. I know that I'm not me. That it's just like this barrage of pain and emotional thoughts. I have to take a step back, and once I'm grounded and calm, then I can be myself. It's this.
I guess that's what the Soviet Union, the communist regime did. They took away religion so that the government would be the religion. So there is something very much about Soviet communist, about the woke culture now. And I think they idolize the Communist Manifesto and they idolize socialism. But what they don't realize is that my first wife grew up under martial law in Poland. She grew up in communism, and it's the worst thing you can imagine. Like from someone that being with someone who's lived it, it's kind of like if she would meet someone who was like, oh, I'm into communism, socialism, she would get so angry because she was like, you haven't lived the oppression and the tyranny that living in that is. And I feel like there's a big correlation between wokeism and communism.
What way?
Just like you say, even the taking away the religious aspect so that the government become the authority. When you said that, I was like, that's really in line with A, what's going on now, and B, how the Soviet Union was built. Marxism was built on that, taking away the concept of God, to make the authorities the God. And it leads to, I mean, literally in communism, you couldn't buy you had to have a car that everyone else had. You had to have an apartment that everyone else. There was no room for individuality. One shampoo, bread, one loaf. You did have no way to express yourself. And which is happening now with woke culture, with art, if you say something against the state in art, you go to prison. And it's and that's what they don't.
But the thing is, they can't exactly do that 100% through the American checks and balances. What they have to do is they made it a cult. In the sense that I read a lot about cult psychologies. It's like pretty fascinating to me. And why I read it is I read about like huge cults and NXIVM, all these things, and you look at it, it's the same playbook with the left, or both political parties. In some degree, I think the left's worse, but it's this idea that basically, like, if you're in an in-group, the threat of leaving the in-group and being character assassinated by them, the fear of that is enough to not make you want to leave and speak out. Wow. That's the whole point. So, like, if you're part of, like, let's say, to be fair, let's say you're part of the right. Just be fair. So I'll try and be neutral. Yeah. Let's say you're part of the right, and I saw, like, for me, I'm more right-leaning, but I'm pro-choice at the same time, which is, like, my thing. I'm very open to debate, but that's where I stand. But if you're in that group and you have all your friends are hard Trump people, all that kind of stuff, the idea of you saying that is so intense that you can't basically... You can't leave the group. The threat of them being like, what the fuck, you bigot, makes you be silent about it. It's the same with the left too, right? If you don't agree with, chopping a kid's dick off. You saying that, the threat of the in-group being mad at you, makes you kind of retreat. And then the effect of that is when you can't speak, which is why I told myself, I'll never ever not speak the truth, because the effect of not speaking truth externally becomes internal. That you start basically silencing your own consciousness. That you start basically like brainwashing yourself. Like, have you noticed that when you can't speak out things in your mouth, then you don't think them, and you become brainwashed. That's true. Rant, but that's,
that's a good point. I mean, I definitely see that. I know it's. I mean, from someone that has done that jump from the in group to the out group, like, again, it's not. The threat of it is way worse. Like, you hear about people that leave cults, and they're like, the threat, everything that they told them was going to happen to them. They're usually, fine.
Yeah, it takes in cults like a loved one who's escaped,
right,
to basically make you realize that it's okay. So I think when you're in a space, like, to help people, if you're in a space on either side where you feel like you're entrenched, like, just talk to someone, like me or you, who you love and respect, that to be like someone like you who's made it out the side, like, dude, it's not that bad. And through having that conversation, that relationship, you're like, you know what, it's okay. So it's important that you're doing what you're doing, having this conversation, just so people can see and be like, you know what, it's not so bad.
It isn't. It isn't. The threat is always worse than the thing itself.
For sure. What else is going on in you internally? Like, you feel like you have no challenge at this point? You feel like you're happy, you're sane, there's no roadblocks right now?
I've never felt better. I feel like I feel of some of the things I'm talking about in the upcoming, especially the Rumble thing, I feel an urge to say I'm definitely not suicidal. I definitely wouldn't kill myself. But no, I feel better than ever right now. And it's weird because on paper, everything's bad, like we're getting divorced.
I wasn't expecting that, man, because when I was, I try and do research, and I'm pretty energetic. I try to, like, tap into whatever you're feeling and stuff like that beforehand. And I was kind of expecting you to have a lot on your plate, a lot of, like, issues and emotional wreckage. But you seem fucking great.
No, I like to I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing my stuff that I feel passionate about. I'm pretty good at going, okay, there's a lane for that, and this is like creating content, or I want to talk about something passionately. I put it in a space in my head, and I want to be an example that the being, like, really hated and cancelled is not. It doesn't affect my life because I don't let it.
How is that? I have my own, like, way of doing it, but. Like, for you, when you have hate groups and you have people, like, if you look at your comments or your wife's comments or something, you see like a lot of hate against you. How can you have that happen, that part of your brain and that existing, and then being present with your child and loving your child, and being here right now and not worrying about that? How have you learned to, like, have that, as you said, compartmentalization? For people, that's like a skill for anything in life, I think.
I don't know, actually. I think I've always had it. Like, I'm one of those people that if something, like, little things will get to me, like small things in my day, if something goes wrong, will get to me. But a big catastrophe, I'm good at.
I never met someone like that.
Right.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, it sounds crazy, but, like, when my mom died last year, and in that, I was like, I thought I was going to be like, crazy. It was a pretty crazy experience, but, I was fine. Like, I was able to be focused, and obviously I was grieving and feeling, but I wasn't destroyed.
Yes.
So I saw that, I was like, huh. And then I split up with my girlfriend like a couple months after that for 3 years. So it was like a double whammy, and I was still fine. Like, I felt things, but then I realized, like, same thing, like, these huge things only made me stronger and didn't phase me. But then someone not answering a text or a meeting getting canceled or like a post getting deleted, like that fucking kills me. It's like, it's frustrating. I never met someone like that.
It's so true, yeah.
How do you wrestle with that?
Yeah, I mean...
How do you make sense? Have you made sense of it? Or you're just...
I haven't. It's one of those things that I just know I've got and I don't question it because I want it to stay.
I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
And then the work's easier for us, right? Because I think then we have to get better at handling the small things.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to just, in my experience, maybe the party 12 step, which is surrendering, just being like, I have no control over this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And it's I think most of our suffering is based on trying to control what we can't.
100%.
That's almost all of it.
Yeah. I tend to do that when something big happens. I'll be like, I'll leave this up to God. I've done my part. As long as I know I've done everything I can. I love the serenity prayer that we say at the end of most meetings. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love that. I think a lot of people just take it as, let me accept that I haven't got control over things. And I speak to a lot of people in the program who take that to mean that, and they forget the bit that says you have to have the courage to do everything you can. So I often, like, if something really bad's happening, like that strike today is really bad, but in my head I'm going, have I done all the things? Did I make sure that I did research? Did I appeal it? Did I do everything I can? Yeah. Okay. Now I've got to leave it up to God.
So what are the part of like the threat of suicide, the threat of, being followed, the threat of being tracked?
Yeah.
How are you doing with that? What's that like dealing with that?
I've had some weird shit happen. I've definitely had some weird shit happen. And, I've upped my security significantly. And, the most amazing thing about having people that are perhaps more on the right is I had so many people that are in security, like reach out with like free, we'll come over for free. We'll do this for free because we love what you're doing. So I'm meeting a lot of those guys. The weirdest thing though was, a couple of weeks ago, I was coming out of my house like 1 or 2 in the morning with a friend of mine, and this SUV pulled up outside my driveway goes, so you got my door, my driveway, and my neighbour's across the road driveway, this here. So this car pulled up, there's never any traffic on my street. It's a really, really very, very quiet street. There's never traffic. It pulled up and it reversed into my neighbour's driveway. So the lights were on us and it just stayed there. And the lights were bright. And it was so weird and eerie. And I was like, there's got to be an explanation. There's got to be an explanation. But there wasn't one. And then it drove off and I talked about it online. And the amount of these security people that reached out was like, yeah, you're being followed. That's definitely happening. And that was like, in my mind, I was like, maybe there's probably an explanation for that. There's not. And these people who have a lot of experience were like, no, that's what's happening. You need to do X, Y, Z. So I'm doing all the things.
I saw you got like a suicide note from YouTube.
Yeah. They sent me a thing saying it looks like you're trying to self-harm. Yeah. It was crazy.
Do you ever give any signal that could be the case?
I did
play devil's advocate just to see, like, maybe if there's any way.
What the video was on? What was the video? It was. Oh, damn! I can't remember what the video was. It was a really contentious video about sex trafficking in Hollywood, and it was a collection of clips. That's right. It was a collection of clips, but some of it was pretty like naming people. So I thought I put a disclaimer in, and I said I said as part of it, I talked a bit in the middle, and I said in there, I'm just saying that I would never kill myself, and I feel great, because I often say that. But it was weird that I guess you could say that that's why they did it, but they didn't do it on any other video, and I say it quite a lot.
The way I understand the playbook is that there are a couple moves before you get there. They're going to try. At first, it's like the character assassination.
Yeah, been through that.
Like more like media stuff. Like full on like hit pieces on like New York Times and stuff.
Yeah.
That's step one. Then it's like Can he throw you in jail?
Yeah.
Can you get accused of rape by some random person?
Yeah.
And then it's suicide.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I heard Andrew Tate talk about that. It's fucking crazy. That's crazy. It's funny with Andrew Tate. My really good friend grew up in exactly the same area that he grew up in, and the fact that he has made such a life for himself from that's a rough part of England. Like I come from a rough part of England, but and the fact that, and I don't see anything bad about anything he said. I've seen the clips that they've made him look bad, but when you see the long form content of the way they're clearly trying to take him down is so crazy to me.
That's a perfect example of it. He's also speaking to a group that you said, like the men of society. I think, I can't agree with everything he says, but the things that I do think is heroic are the fact that he's waking up young men against the systems that be and making them aware of all the nefarious agendas of the world. The fact that he's millions of them around the world. The fact that he's waking them up, that's the biggest threat the system has seen in a long time. Yeah. That's a big one.
That's why they're trying to shut him down.
That's why I have so much respect for you and what you're doing is that it's the raising awareness, taking your influence and using that and sacrificing yourself to raise awareness is the way. Yeah. It's the way.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's always good to hear that.
Also, it's like the trade you're taking for that, right? Like the getting followed, the character assassination, all that stuff. Like the fact that you're taking that on willfully, because you feel so passionate about speaking the truth, is brave, man.
Yeah, it's too important not to talk about.
So what's next for you? Just making the.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep going. I mean, I'm starting to see very clearly that Twitter and Rumble is the destination that I need to be heading towards. So I'm doing everything I can to kind of build those. And they're pretty new for me right now, but it's interesting. I feel like I'm on the right path, and if you're doing something right, you just feel it in your heart, and that's what I feel. So
that's the beautiful thing, man. Yeah, that's what I feel being in here. And once you're kind of living from that place, everything opens up. I feel like the minute you access that, the universe or God, something blesses you. They start giving you the people that you should be around. Like things open up. Yeah. I think for men it's so important to find that, especially. Like to find purpose.
Because we tend to isolate. Yeah. And that's the suicide thing, I think. It's
also the part you speak about is the inability to be vulnerable. Yeah. And that's like one thing I don't agree with on some of the manosphere part is this like hate or belief that men shouldn't be emotional vulnerable. Right. Because I think it's almost the most brave thing to be vulnerable. Not be a bitch about it, but like to speak about what's going on, because often it takes bravery. Yeah. Right? For you to sit here and speak about I was an addict. Yeah. I experienced XYZ. That that's bravery. Yeah. Yeah. So I think men have to get better.
Yeah.
At that,
I agree.
I'm not saying like a bitchy way of like, well, poor me, but be owning it.
Owning it.
This is what's happening.
Taking responsibility.
Just losing the shame about it.
Yeah. 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 There's a difference between taking responsibility. You never want to, as a man, you never want to be the victim. Exactly. But there's a line there. I think the good thing for that is having other guys to run things past.
For sure.
And they can be like, you need to look at it. I've certainly found like a couple of crises I've had, but I never used to talk to men. And when I take it to my group of guys that I hang out with, it's so much more valuable, the advice you get. Even from women in my life, if I'm going through something, I find that the feminine perspective and advice isn't as helpful to me, and it can send me down a wrong road. Whereas if I go to guys, there's something amazing about it.
I agree. Yeah. And you kind of need that as a man. I think that's what can bring, not hate on women, but when a man like depends on their wife for advice, like change things, fix them, emasculates them. And she becomes a man in the relationship. Totally. And they're pushing that as well.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
Yeah, it's like this thing right now I see of because I'm more traditional in the sense I think that, it's a man's responsibility to lead. Yeah. To lead and provide and protect. I think it's like an energetic thing. And they're basically, the minute, I've been on like first dates and stuff, and he say that, and they're like, it's like the typical liberal woman's like, oh, like, fucking like, which is like, that's their right. Like, I get it, it's 100% fine, but I think that's important too. And they also like, because it's just the way I think that we're kind of like, but it's only possible if you're actually being a good man. Yes. If you're being worthy of doing that, but you can't be like, a sop and be miserable and then expect to get that treatment. Yeah, it's true. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. And again, kudos for what you're doing. Thanks, everyone, please check out his documentaries and his work. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Of course. Pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch more content, please click this video right here and don't forget to subscribe right here. Thank you.